Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm Bobby Klink. If you don't know me, I'm the lawyer and online entrepreneur behind Your Online Genius. I wanted to pop in here today to kind of talk about what I've learned in the last year. And some of it's counterintuitive. It's things that I think have kind of really been important to my success over the last year. And I wanted to share it with people. And so that's why I was popping in here. And what got me thinking about this is I tend not to be somebody who is overly sentimental. And I'm not someone who celebrates birthdays quite often, but what I do is anniversaries for some reason are important to me. Things like that are important dates in my mind stick in my mind. And I know May 1st of last year was the date that I launched my membership. It was the first product I had that was successful. It was the first time that I really got traction. And about this time a year ago, I was doing a webinar. I think literally I think the webinar was at 2 p.m. I could be wrong, but 2 p.m. Eastern time, I think. So I think about now I was into the Q&A and the selling section. And so what I wanted to do was kind of share what I've learned over the last year and talk about the ups, the downs, the good, the bad. I'm not going to be here forever because I could talk about this stuff for probably 5 hours if you let me, but I'm not going to do that because I know people don't want to hear that. But I'm going to talk a little bit about things that happened this year and then talk about the kind of three big takeaways I've got. One of them is consistent with what other people will tell you. The other two, I honestly believe, are a bit counterintuitive, and they're things that I've done differently. In a sense, I believe that my success over the last few years is because I didn't do things the way that most people are teaching. Now, hear me there. I'm not saying I succeeded in spite of. I think it's literally because I didn't do those things that I've had some success. So I'm going to talk about those things towards the end. But, the year was a bit of a roller coaster, to say the least. I mean, it's mainly been ups, but there have been times that were down, times that I didn't hit what I, felt like. Back in 2018, like literally right this time last year, I really hadn't gotten any traction. I ran the webinar today. That's when things started to take off. It was the first time that I got off a webinar, went to my email and said, holy crap, people have bought stuff from me, and it felt good, right? And so, it was a good launch, and that continued in that period. Then over the summer, and again, a lot of people don't talk about this, but over the summer, I wasn't making a ton of money. I was running weekly webinars trying to get people into my membership, and I was maybe breaking even at that point. If I remember right, I definitely wasn't making money. And by breaking even, I mean like my ad spend would, equal what I got. And that was a good week. And there were weeks where I definitely didn't. And I was doing those weekly webinars half the time for like 5 people. And I'll just tell you, that is not fun. I don't recommend doing that. So I definitely would not recommend weekly webinars unless you've got a big list. That was kind of the biggest downtime I would say that I had. Last year, during the summer, things just, I wasn't, I was kind of treading water, I guess. Then I went to Amy Porterfield's event in August. And, it's kind of funny looking back because at the time, a lot of the things I've done seemed like big investments at the time. And now I'm like, nothing. I mean, nothing. I mean, last year when I signed up for B School in February, spending $2,000 seemed like a lot. Then at the end of the year, I joined James Wedmore's mastermind and, just spent 28 grand or 25 grand, boom, like that. And I didn't think twice about it. And so that was a shift that I had, but it took the whole year to get there. So things, really kind of, took off for me, after Amy Porterfield's event. And that's one of the first learnings. And so I'll kind of go to that now, which, and I see Melanie's here. I don't know if she's still here, but she was here earlier. She is the one who pushed me, and you've probably heard me talk about the More Cowbell initiative. But ultimately, kind of the first lesson I learned is that we are all personal brands, whether we're, providing legal services or, whatever you do, you are a personal brand. Until you're like a big company, you're going to be a personal brand, and people are going to buy from you because of you. And so the sooner that you embrace that and put yourself out into your brand and make yourself front and center and your personality. And, don't try to be someone you're not, just be authentically you. The sooner you do that, the better. That was one of the key takeaways, because again, I was doing fine last year, but that shift is when things really clicked for me. That's when people started loving my emails. That's when I started getting emails back from people. That's when just all of the things started to happen. So that's kind of the first takeaway. If you have been reluctant to put yourself out there in your brand, do it. Don't wait another day. Don't wait another hour. Just start doing it. Start doing it now, because the sooner you do, the better. Now, that's the piece of advice that is not counterintuitive. That's the piece of advice that a lot of the big people will tell you, that you need to put yourself in your brand. You need to be authentic. And let me be very clear here. Being authentic means something very specific. What I'm going to tell you is it can't be fake authenticity. So it can't be like Instagram perfect kind of authenticity where you're showing just the good. If that's what you're doing, people are not going to connect. People are going to see through it and say, this is BS. At the same time, you can't be authentically something that you're not. So you can't do that either. But then on the third hand, you can't just be complaining all the time. So if you do that, that's not going to work either. On my podcast episode that came out this week, Colin Boyd talked about how, one of the elements you've got to kind of have, you have to overcome the challenge, right? In coming up with your signature story, you can be authentic, talk about the challenges you face, but you either have to overcome it or be on your way to overcoming it. If you're not, it just sounds like you're whining and complaining. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear someone who's just constantly talking about how things suck. So don't do that. So be authentic, but you have to have kind of some uplifting message, or at least I'm on the way to it. So, be authentic, be you, and put yourself out there. Again, if people are buying legal templates from me because they connect with me as a person, I don't care what you do, you are a personal brand, right? If a lawyer doing kind of legal stuff is a personal brand, you are a personal brand. Accept that and, embrace it. And the sooner you do that, the better. Now, the second slightly counterintuitive thing, and a lot of people talk about it, but I think I need to push you further. And this is the second big learning, and it's the first counterintuitive thing, I should say. You need to give more. Literally, the more I gave last year, the more I got. The more I was willing to give of myself and provide value to people without any expectation, the better my business got. And so I see questions like this all the time. How much is too much? Should I give less? Should I not be giving away all this information? Should I hold it for my membership? Should I keep it secret? You can do that stuff, right? I mean, those are sales tactics. Those are marketing tactics. You can choose to do that. And again, if all you have is information, maybe it's a harder question, right? But realistically, you probably have something beyond just information that you're going to sell ultimately. And what I'm going to tell you is what I have found is literally the more I give, the more people connect with me, the more people want to buy from me. And it just makes sense, right? Because I don't seem like someone who is in it for the money. I don't seem like someone who is viewing people as a potential customer in a potential transaction. I'm someone who wants to serve. But here's the kicker. And this is the hard part that that really makes this hard. You can't do it because you want to make money. You can't do it with an ulterior motive. You can't do it say, oh, well, I'm going to give because that's going to build reciprocity because I read that book Persuasion and that's going to make them want to buy from me. If that's what you're doing, people are going to see through it. And people are going to know that you're doing it for that reason, and it's not going to work. Now, I'm going to use a slightly off-color example that people will talk about, like in relationships. Sometimes one person in the relationship will try to bargain for something that they want, often, to get something in the bedroom that they want. It doesn't work. And people know that intuitively in relationships, that if you try to say, well, I'll do this for you if you do this for me, people are like, no, screw you. I don't want that. Well, the same is true in your business. If people sense that that's what you're doing in your business, it's not going to work. People need to sense that you are giving because you honestly want to give and you want to serve. So I know that is hard because I'm telling you that this is something that can help you build your business. But at the same time, I'm telling you, you can't do it just because you want to build your business. It has to be something deeper. You have to get to the point that you truly love to give. And the way I kind of explained it, I think in a podcast at one point, is you can't give as an action. You have to become a giver. And when you become a giver, so that is literally your personality, that is kind of just inherent in who you are, that becomes something that is truly, will attract people to you, and they will want to be around you and be in your presence, and that will explode things. But again, it's got to be this deep-seated change in your belief. The book I love is, The Go-Giver. I tell people all the time to go get that book. I think that's a fantastic book. I think everyone should read it. I think it should be basically, the Bible for entrepreneurs. If you're going to read one book, that's it. Because if you adopt the lessons in there, I think that will make you so successful. And again, the lessons are basically that you have to understand and get to this point. To the point, literally right before I went on, I saw someone send me a message about, do I know a health lawyer? Haven't had a chance to respond to it, but just to give you a sense, I'm going to send them to one of the other online lawyers I know who sells templates, but I know actually works specifically with people in the health field. And I don't care. I mean, maybe that person ends up buying templates from this other lawyer. I don't really care. I want to serve her. I want to provide value to that person, and that's the best way I can do it. And that's one of the things that they talk about in The Go-Giver. And so I suggest that book to you. If you haven't read it yet, definitely check it out. Now, the last lesson, though, that I learned, and this is the one that I believe is actually the most counterintuitive. And it came up for me. My friend Tarzan K, the copywriter, sent me a message on Facebook, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. She was thanking me for something, but then put a comment about this. And what she said in a nutshell was, a lot of people don't talk about this, but when you look at the successful online entrepreneurs, they tend to have an X factor. And she was saying that I had the X factor on steroids. And it got me thinking. And I was trying to say, what is it that she sees as the X factor in me? And so I thought about that, and I thought about what other people have said. And what I realized is, quite honestly, my quote X factor isn't an X factor. It is something that you can nurture. It is something I could teach you. It is something that you could learn to do. I think my X factor, honestly, is that I take the time to build the human connections online. And what I mean by that is, I don't view people as transactions. I don't view people as, just something that, that someone who could maybe make me money, or someone who could maybe, connect me with something or something like that. I just don't do it. That's not how I look at people. I take the time to just connect with people. And here's where it's truly counterintuitive. What I'm going to tell you is, if you take the advice of a lot of the people out there, you're not ever going to do it, because you're going to try to automate, you're going to try to delegate, you're going to try to template things out, you're going to try to systematize. And guess what? You can't build human connections with templates. You can't build human connections by delegating it, by systematizing or automating it. Building human connections takes you putting in the time. Now, you could systemize things into say, okay, well, I'm going to spend this time every day doing it. But beyond that, you got to just go in and do it. You've got to go in and be where the people who, you potentially want to sell stuff to, or you want to connect with, or whatever, just be there and provide value. And you can't do it in a systematized way. There's no template for it. There's no way to actually do it. And I'll tell you, like, people now approach me, and even the people who are doing it right, from they're approaching me as like someone who could potentially promote something for them or do something like that. They're approaching me as an influencer. And even the people who are doing it right, in that they're customizing it, et cetera, I can still tell it's a template, right? I can still tell the way that it's written. It's not like they're just saying, hey, Bobby, what's going on? And just kind of approaching me as a human being. And there's a lot of things, and this is where me not doing the things that a lot of people told me to do helped. And it was, I got to be clear, I wasn't doing this because I had this grand realization. I just realized this within the last couple of days, but I still look at all my email. I don't have an assistant who goes through my email and responds. I still do, all of the comments. Like if you see a comment on Facebook by Bobby Klink or Your Online Genius, that's me. That's nobody else. Posts are different. I have a VA who does my posts for me, but and not Bobby, but some of the ones in the group, et cetera, automated stuff, et cetera. But I'm the one who's commenting. If you send a message to me, whether it's via email, via help desk, via messenger, that's me. And because of that, I'm actually taking the time to respond to people. I'm connecting with people, et cetera. When I'm in a Facebook group, if you see someone in a Facebook group commenting as Bobby Klink, that's me. It's nobody else. It's just me. But if you listen to a lot of the advice out there, people are telling you you need to automate and get an assistant right away and start doing these things. And you can do that. But I'm going to tell you, the longer that you keep control of your personal inbox and respond personally, the better. Again, at some point, you're going to have to stop. You're going to have somebody help you when you get enough messages coming in. But even then, I believe that hopefully you could do something where you build like rules that kind of send certain things to different people to respond to. But responding to people on your list is huge. I get emails back from people on my list when I email my weekly email, and I respond. And when I do, people are blown away. They're blown away because they can't believe I've actually taken the time to respond. Well, to me, that's just a human thing to do. If someone sends me a note telling me they loved my email, of course I'm going to write them back and say thank you, because why wouldn't I? I mean, that's just what a person would do. If you were actually engaging, if someone came up to you on the street and said, I love whatever it is, you wouldn't just be silent and walk away. You would take the time to thank them. And it's doing those little things that are not scalable, that are not, you can't, have it done in a template, et cetera. That's the kind of thing that actually makes a huge impression on people. And what I'll tell you is I learned this lesson. When I look back, I learned it from my mentor and now friend, Amy Porterfield. I remember last year when I was considering B School, and Melon, if you're still here, you might remember this. I don't know if you do. But she had a pop-up group for people thinking about it. And the purpose of that group on Facebook was to, obviously sell people, to get them to join B School. She never makes a hard sale. But what I will never forget, one of the members on a Sunday, I think it was afternoon my time, posted something. I don't remember for the life of me what that woman posted, but you could tell she was in pain. She was having trouble. She just was, struggling. And Amy took the time to record, I think it was like a 7 or 8 minute audio recording where she took the time. She didn't try to sell anything to this woman. She just saw that someone in her crowd was in pain and she wanted to help. And guess what? That was the moment that I went from someone who just kind of followed Amy to an Amy follower for life, because she took the time to be a human being and to do what a human being would do in that circumstance, to actually connect with this woman and serve. And so I use that as an example because I saw it and I know the effect it had on me. And so I know that doing those things, although they're not scalable, right? I mean, you can't scale this. At the same time, you can. If you're in a Facebook group and you're providing value, guess what? You will have people who see you, who you've never talked to, who you've never you don't even know that they're there, but they've seen what you do. And because of it, they've connected with you and they feel like they know you and they know, like, and trust you. So again, one thing I've decided, I am not going to delegate this stuff. I'm not going to delegate my inbox until I absolutely have to. I'm not going to delegate responding to messages I get on Facebook until I absolutely have to. I'm not going to delegate. I will never delegate, engaging with people on social media. Posting is one thing, but engaging, that's, in my view, that is my 5%. That's more important than content creation. Content creation, I can have someone help me with, but actually connecting with people, they got to connect with me. And that means it's my time. And so that to me is the big takeaway, is that we all need to be focusing more on, really building our connections, our human connections with people in this online world. And when we do that, when we get to that point that you've actually kind of started to connect with people there, that's when you get the fans who will actually be raving fans. That's when, I've got people who, like, if someone says something nasty about one of my Facebook ads, they'll see it and they'll jump in and say, and say, you're out of line. This guy is fantastic. He's amazing. I don't have to do it because I've built that connection with these people. And so that's the thing that I will always keep for myself. Related, I'm probably always going to write my weekly emails because I think that's an important part of connecting with people. It's got to be my stories. It's got to be my voice. It's got to be me. And I don't know how I could possibly outsource that to someone else. So again, this is something my one of my current coaches, James Wedmore, if he heard it, he'd probably smack me upside the head and say, stop it. He can smack me all he wants. I'm going to keep doing this stuff. I know it's not scalable, but I believe this is the stuff that I've got to keep for myself. And I said, he wouldn't say that if I told him and explained him why I believe that's my 5% activity, he would be on board. But a lot of people tell me I should have automated, I should have delegated already, and I haven't. And I'm resisting, and this is part of the reason I am. So that's it. I'm going to stop now. I could keep talking for a while. I'm actually going to do a podcast episode about building human connections because I think that is a missing piece. And I think that's what we all need to be doing. So, hopefully you guys will enjoy that. That's all I got for today. Again, I'd love to connect with you more. See all these comments. I'm going to respond to them, but I'm here. If you ever want to reach me, just reach out. Again, I just told you it's me. If you send a message to Your Online Genius or to Bobby, it's me. I'll get it, and I'm going to be the one responding. So feel free. I love connecting with people. It's really what makes it easy for me to get up and do this every day. So that's it. I'll talk to you later. Have a great week.